Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Random Trek. I am your faithful time traveling captain, Christopher Ingle. Joined as always to the Mr. Dumbarton, to my Henry Starling, Commander Brennan, the Mystical Mar. Brennan, timey-wimey time?
Yeah, I went back in time and now I'm my own grandfather. So
uh,
very strange.
yes, today we are taking a look at Star Trek Voyager Season 3, Episodes 8 and 9, the two-parter Future's End. I would argue, though, the two-parter to end Season 2 and go into 3 was good, this is when Voyager really started to get good. Wouldn't you say?
I think I agree because season 1 and 2 was like, I don't know, the gimmick had sort of worn off a bit.
Mm-hmm.
In season 3 is when we hit it with Scorpion, with meeting 7 and 9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, things really take off in this season.
Yeah, it's a good season. But this is definitely one of my favorite two-parters. I enjoy this a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
let's get right into it. And so um let's get into the plot, but we'll kind of keep it basic here because it is a two-parter.
Mm-hmm.
So Voyager comes in contact with a small craft, and they're hailed by the 29th century Starfleet captain Braxton,
Braxton.
of the timeship Aeon, and he's come to destroy Voyager because they found there was a temporal explosion in the future, and they found remains of Voyager's hull there. So they go back in time to destroy Voyager to prevent that from happening. Voyager manages to fight off the attack, but there's a temporal rift that was formed that sends Captain Braxton's ship and Voyager through time. Captain Braxton's ship lands in 1967 LA, or the mountains of LA, while Voyager ends up above Earth in 1996, the year
Mm-hmm.
released.
Which
Um,
makes this episode a period piece if you think
it does
about
make
it.
it an interesting period piece.
Yeah, I remember those days.
So they detect kind of chronometric particles and some different things on the surface, and so they split up in teams. Chakotay and Janeway go down to and they find Captain Braxton, while um while Tuvok and Tom go, and they eventually make their way to the Griffith Observatory to find out more about these signals that are going on. We'll get that momentarily. Janeway and Chakotay find Captain Braxton, who's been living on Earth now for almost 30 years as a homeless vagrant, and lets them know about causality and how everything works, and that it wasn't Voyager that caused it, but a temporal causality loop.
Mm.
And if the timeship, which was found by Henry Starling, this a magnate businessman who jump-started the computer revolution of the 20th
Think like a
century.
Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs type
Yeah,
guy.
he kind of is. If Starling takes that ship and goes to the future because he is not a trained pilot, he will cause the temporal explosion that will happen. So Janeway and Chakotay make it their mission to find Starling and to stop this from happening. Meanwhile, at the Griffith Observatory, uh, a
Which
woman.
I need to visit one of these days.
I do need to visit there. I do agree.
Yeah,
Rain.
I missed out on it. I should next time I go.
An astronomer by the name of Rain Robinson, played surprisingly by Sarah Silverman.
Mm-hmm.
She is the one that discovers accidentally that Voyager is in orbit, or something is in orbit. She works with SETI, but they are also funded by Henry Starling.
Mm-hmm.
She discovers Voyager's warp trail and sends a message up, so she now knows what's there, and she lets Starling know. And so now our bad guy knows that something is there. Well, basically, Chakotay and Janeway do manage to find their way into Starling's building. And when they do, they discover where the timeship is and that Starling has got it. They attempt to download his database, but get caught by Starling. Starling uses technology from the 29th century to reverse the data link to where he downloads Voyager's database, and we find out exactly who they are and what's going on. Meanwhile, Starling wants Sarah Silverman's character dead, so he sends his man Dumbarton to go kill her. But
Dunbar.
Dunbar, oh, I thought it was Dumbarton. That is also a freeway in the
Yep.
Bay Area
The
somewhere.
Dunbarton Bridge. You
It
got it.
is, so that's why I did that. Anyway, but Tuvok and Tom save her and they drive away pretending to be secret agents, which is kind of funny if you think about it.
Mhm.
But Voyager, having no choice because Janeway and Chakotay are being held by Starling, has to go into a low orbit because the transporters aren't working properly, and they get caught. They get seen by Earth on video. But
Ah, yes, the late 90s UFO craze.
what we do find though is that Starling did manage to download Voyager's database and also got a hold accidentally of the Doctor. And so
Mm.
now Voyager doesn't have their Doctor. They've been detected, and we got to figure out what's going on. And that
Dun, dun, dun.
leads into part 2. So Voyager works on its repairs, and Paris and Tuvok are kind of stuck on Earth with Robinson. Paris convinces her to help and to contact Starling and go, here's the deal. If we can get Starling, we can transport him, we can capture him, and then we can get the time ship back. Cool, that's their plan. In the process of doing this, we discover that the Doctor is with Starling out in the open due to what is possibly the best part of this whole episode, the mobile holo emitter.
Oh, yeah.
This becomes an important MacGuffin. By the way, I think this whole episode was written just to get Bob Picardo away off
Yeah.
sick bay.
Fair enough.
But they managed to get a hold of Starling, who's kind of holding the, or he tries to get out of it, but they get him there and are holding him in sick bay. And Starling admits what his plan is to go into the future, kind of a Rasmussen kind of thing. Go into the
Oh,
future,
yeah.
get
Yeah.
technology, and go back. But his Mr. Dunbar does
Mhm.
manage to save him using the technology from the time ship. He pushes up his timetable, and is going to go ahead and go to the future much sooner than anticipated. However, he kind of throws them off the scent. Chakotay and B'Elanna go down in a shuttle, which they disguise using technology as a plane, to kind of stop them. And they find out that this truck that they were chasing, they thought had the time ship. It doesn't. It was to give Starling time to escape, and they end up crashing in Arizona.
Mm.
After Janeway attempts a last minute attempt to stop Starling, she manually fires a photon torpedo at the ship and blows it up. B'Elanna and Chakotay are rescued by the Doctor. Some funny looks are given, which is great. But another Captain Braxton comes through the temporal the temporal rift that they see, and he says, "We detected a problem here. I'm here to escort you back to where you belong." And they're like, "What happened?" And basically, they changed the timeline by stopping Braxton or stopping Starling. They changed the timeline. Janeway begs and says, please, can you leave us here, but take us back to the 24th century, leaving us here? And they're like, nope, sorry, we got to go back. And so Janeway follows them. But we get a closing moment with the Doctor talking about his new mobile emitter and what must be the first true smile I've ever really seen the Doctor give, which is nice. Nice. And that's how it ends. It's a lot of action in this episode, a lot of timey-wiminess, but in a way, it's very Star Trek 4.
I would say don't try to read too much of the tiny, because otherwise your brain will explode.
Yeah, it is. And Braxton's thing about causality is he's right,
Yeah,
but it is just as
he's right.
confusing.
Yeah.
And even Janeway says, I promised I wouldn't get taken up by one of these godforsaken time paradoxes, but she did.
Yep.
She did, and she will many, many more times in the future. Anyway, Brennan, let's start out. What did we like about this two-parter?
I mean, I think you're right about this being like the first great two-parter
Mhm.
on Voyager, and Voyager would have some amazing two-parter episodes later in the season. Aeon, which is my favorite, my favorite episodes of this show. I really do enjoy the fact that them going back to the year this episode was made.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is very Star Trek 4. And it is a period piece now. Because this is 28 years ago. And watching it going, oh, I remember those days. The days of big cell phones, not nearly as big as the 80s cell phones. But bigger cell phones with the flip part on the bottom. The days of beepers, the days of the MTV. I mean, it was just such a interesting time, and it's so neat to get to see our characters interacting with that. And Sarah Silverman is actually surprisingly good as Rain. I believe her.
Yeah,
she's very believable as this, steady, fringe science kind of steady hippie almost of kind of astronomer type person.
isn't it neat how different actors have shown up in Star Trek history that you don't think would be Trek that would work?
I mean,
and
like
yet
the
they
time that
do.
Jason Alexander showed up, and he was actually creepy.
Jason Alexander was great in that episode. I love Think Tank.
Yeah.
Brennan or I always say Brennan. It's Frasier. Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer. Yep.
I don't expect that when it happened.
Oh, by the way, we must give a shout out to Ed Begley Jr., who plays Henry Starling.
Ed Begley Jr. is our bad guy in this, and I love him so much in this.
He's having a lot of fun kind of chewing the scenery as a
He's
villain.
maniacal, he's twisted, and possibly one of the best villains Voyager comes across in its 7 years.
Probably. I would agree with that. I love these are fun episodes. It's just the whole fish out of water. And I love that Tom's understanding of the 20th century is not as good as he thinks it is. Which I love. I love that he says like groovy, and Rain's like, groovy.
Well, Rain puts it right. She's like, you say things, you don't get it just quite right.
Yeah, you say things wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. And Tuvok, if Tuvok laughed, he's laughing on the inside at this. I'm sure he is.
Yeah, I mean, Tuvok, of course, being completely out of his element here, and also, yeah, I love that the Doctor finally gets the ability to kind of go out and explore the world, because I think that the best thing they ever did for his character was to get it so he could leave sick bay, because then he becomes one of the best characters on the show. And I really just overall, this is a lot of fun. This is very Star Trek 4. This feels like a good summer vacation episode. Hanging out on the beach and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just has such it's so fun to go back and say, yep, Southern California, 1996. I remember those days. I feel like an old person. In my day. But yeah, this is a fun episode. It really is.
I like it too. It's fun. This is fun, and I love time travel. Time travel and Star Trek are like peanut butter and jelly. They just work well together. But this is also the first time that we get mention of the Federation in the future. Which, as we continue into Enterprise and New Trek, become more and more evident. And here's the thing. What's really interesting is Braxton is from the 29th century. Not the last time, by the way, we will see Captain Braxton. But
yes.
yes, he will return. But 29th century. Now think about it. If I remember correctly, what century was Discovery in the future?
32nd.
32nd century. Comparatively, not that far off. Not that far off. So but this is our first moment where we see that the Federation does exist in the future. And instead of just exploring space, they also explore and monitor time.
And they have the temporal prime directive.
Yes. And this also will lead into more understanding of time travel in the future. And also that in general, the Federation doesn't have a solid time travel answer. There's some interesting things. And one day when we get to Relativity, that the episode that deals with the further iteration of Captain Braxton, we'll talk more about that.
And then we deal, of course, later down the road with Agent Daniels, who just showed up in Discovery. So
he did. Well, didn't just show up.
in
He's
some
been there
way,
the last 3 years.
yes.
I was so happy with that
In
revelation.
Cronenberg, we trust.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, plain and simple, I love the timey-wiminess of it, and I love the fact that we know now there will be a Federation of the future, and this is the first time we get that, which is really nice.
And is this the first? Well, this isn't the first episode with Voyagers dealt with time. That this is the first episode where they've like done the classic Star Trek. Go back in time several hundred years.
If you remember, Tom and Janeway in like the second or third episode of the first season, through it, time and again, they went back in time at this planet to prevent a disaster from occurring.
Yeah, but this is like the first time they've done the classic, like
Take
all
the
the
ship
Star Trek shows have done some kind of going back several hundred years story, which is really neat.
Let me think about that. Enterprise, yeah.
And Discovery, did they do go back hundreds of years?
No, Discovery. I mean, time travel, yes, but in the reverse.
Yeah,
future, not back.
Yeah, it was the other way. Yeah.
Let me think. Of course, Picard, the entire second season. Strange New Worlds hasn't yet.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, because
it'll happen. Come on, it's the Enterprise. It will
because
go back
Strange New Worlds enjoys doing a lot of the classic Trek things.
Lower Decks didn't. Lower Decks didn't. Although I don't want to give too much away. I have a feeling that season 2 of Prodigy is going to deal heavily with time travel.
I wonder.
Well, it's already kind of been alluded to, but
the whole whatever happened to the planet.
I will embarrassingly say your captain has been spoiled for season 2 and knows.
For shame, Captain.
I do. I broke the temporal prime directive and looked ahead.
You hacked into the French TV?
Strangely enough, yes, the broadcasts were in French. But just a little news from our end that we just found out yesterday, that beginning July 1st, Prodigy season 2 will be dropped, all 20 episodes, on Netflix.
Yes.
So we will be able to continue. Now, there's no word whether there will be a season 3 or not. No work is being done right now that we are aware of, but at the very least, we will get season 2. We get to see the Doctor. We will probably get to see Chakotay. That was alluded to last season.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Janeway and the Voyager A. Believe me, I'm sure we'll be connecting a lot of these dots here down the line.
Yep.
Maybe they meet Captain Braxton again. Wouldn't that be cool?
And maybe we can figure out a way to save Lower Decks.
Lower Decks is already committed. They said 5, and that they're done.
Yeah, I heard it was going to be canceled after that, and it's like, no.
Yeah, it's sad, but that is what it is.
Well,
anyway, but no, this works. I love the references with the future too. I also love, again, the paradox questions. When Janeway says the computer revolution of the 20th century should have never happened. but it did, and it's a part of who they are. It's a temporal paradox.
Yep. Even though
A
she
leads to B, B
technically
leads to C,
ends,
and C leads back to A.
even though she technically prevents that from happening,
She kind of does.
and yet it
Well,
happens anyway.
but that's the paradox thing. And you know, the it's like the TARDIS in Doctor
Well,
Who.
I guess if Henry Starling had done it, then of course Bill Gates and Steve Jobs are going to do it.
Probably. But and you think let put that in perspective, like we okay, I will put this in terms of the Avengers. Remember, the Avengers said that time travel is not like Back to the Future.
Yeah,
You can't go to the past and change your future. It doesn't work
because it's
that
all
way.
part of one big loop.
It's not so much the loop, but it's the idea
Well, you
that
are you
yeah,
as a person are in a loop.
you and your personage. So I like to think that with Star Trek, it could be the same thing as well, that stopping him from going just creates a branch timeline. But what has happened has happened.
Yeah,
We can't change
I
that.
think I think I can go with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the computer revolution still occurs. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
that's fine. That's totally fine. I'm okay with that. I really did enjoy this. This was a blast. And it's not overly complicated. I really like that the time travel element to this doesn't overstimulate it, and it's not overly kitschy. Like sometimes Star Trek 4, and we love Star Trek 4,
Yes, we do.
but a lot of the humor and the things like that at times can be a little, come on, all right, all right, all right, all right. Well, okay. Go with it. This doesn't feel that way. It feels a lot more into action. How are they going to get this? How are they going to solve this? And Starling feels like a worthy adversary. He
Mm-hmm.
catches them at every turn that he can and
Yep,
almost succeeds.
he does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What are some things though that you didn't like?
I don't think I really cared much for the Arizona weirdos that Castro, Chakotay, and Perez.
I didn't think that was needed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I know there are weird conspiracy theorists in Arizona, but you could do a whole episode about that. These guys just feel a bit, I don't know why. I guess just to add some extra tension. Yeah, I mean that's really the only thing that really went where I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that was really the only thing that was bothersome, I think, to me.
Yeah, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I think I didn't like, and maybe my memory of the mid 90s is a little off, but I thought their portrayal of and I want to say it was like where were they in LA? It looked like the boardwalk.
They were at like Malibu and Venice Beach or somewhere around there.
Yeah, the Santa Monica
Santa
Pier.
Monica, Santa Monica. They were in
Yeah,
Santa Monica.
I thought it looked so kind of stereotypical. Clearly they were on
Stereotypically,
site. You
yeah,
could tell they were on site. This isn't a large set. They
yeah,
were on site.
they were on
But the
site. Yeah.
clothes, the music, the vendors, things like that, it didn't feel genuine. It felt more for the joke's sake in a similar way that in Star Trek 4 the 1980s were presented. Yeah, it's accurate, but it feels dated.
Maybe it's like hyper accurate in the sense that it's almost like it's accurate, but maybe the accuracy is being pushed a bit too much.
Maybe, but it could also be that, you know, here we are in the 2020s looking back over 30 years to
That's
something that
true.
you and I did not personally experience. We didn't experience LA in the 90s.
Yeah, no, we
We didn't.
didn't experience Santa Monica or anything like that.
So it may just be something we don't understand looking at it
It
from
also
today's
feels very
lens.
Santa Cruz in some degree.
I don't know.
But
Santa
there is a
Cruz.
particular Southern California feel.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Rollerblading
Mm-hmm.
and rollerblading around in bikinis. I was like, what is that?
Barbie.
Is
It's
that a
Barbie all over again.
thing? Anyway,
I don't know.
there was a neat little thing though that I noticed. When they're on the pier and they get the communication from the ship. If you look at everyone around with their earlier cell phones, when it goes off, people go to answer their cell phone. It was a little thing I noticed. I was like, I like that.
Yep.
That was a nice
that
touch.
was the era.
Yeah, but they're the big. It's not the big honking cell phones, but it's the
Now
yeah.
you kids are listening and maybe too young to know. You had to actually physically pull the antenna up
It's one of
on these
those.
old
Yeah.
phones, which had
Yeah.
antennas.
Oh yeah.
For those of you kids that don't know what an antenna is, well, just look it up.
Yeah. Oh, this is also the first episode that Harry Kim takes the con.
And why he never got promoted is beyond me.
I don't know. You know what? It doesn't make sense. He should have at least gotten a junior lieutenant. It's unexcusable. Listen, you're in your third year in space. You're even in the military today.
Saving the
If
day
you're an
again and
ensign,
again and
you're an
again.
ensign for a couple of years, maybe, and then you go to JG automatically. And you're not an ensign for a super long time. So I have always thought that was ridiculous. And this effort right here makes no sense. You leave Harry Kim in charge. And here's another thing. Why in the world did Janeway go down there instead of sending others? Why do you take Tuvok? Makes no sense to this.
You know, probably the writers were like, well, let's get our biggest characters. And
I know you need that. And you couldn't send B'Elanna. You don't send B'Elanna because you got the ridges.
Yeah,
but we're going to send Tuvok because we can just cover up his ears. I was like, you got other people you could have sent that I think would have been a better fit than just this. It doesn't make sense.
I've got Harry and Tom running around LA. Oh my word.
Actually, Harry and Tom would have made more sense.
It's true.
You know, but then you wouldn't get the straight man, funny man.
That's true. That's true.
Then you wouldn't get, and that was, I think, part of the point is they wanted to laugh, you know, and then you get Rain in there who kind of, you know, and I'm sure she ad-libbed as Sarah Silverman does. Very good at it. You know, chili dog. I love when he comes back with chili dogs.
It's their breakfast.
Hey, it's LA. I would not doubt that.
Oh, I'm sure people do that down there.
Maybe they're Nathan's. At least if they were Nathan's, I would be very happy. Or Pinky's Hot Dogs. Do you know about Pinky's Hot Dogs?
No, that one I never heard of.
It's a place down in LA. I'm sorry, I'm stretching a little bit. The last time that I went to Los Angeles was for the Schmodown Spectacular, final one, and I got a Pinky's hot dog.
Well, you know what? One of these days I do want to actually go to LA.
Yeah.
Or LA Comic-Con or something in December, maybe.
Sometime it's cool, but I will tell you this. It's a dirty place.
I know. Yeah.
Dirty place. It was.
I wouldn't hang out downtown.
Yeah.
I would go to Griffith Park. For sure.
That would be fun. I agree. There are certain things I would love to see.
Well, I'd be going out to Griffith Park because of The Rocketeer.
That'd be cool. Well,
if you recall,
so many films take place at the Griffith Observatory.
Rebel Without a Cause also takes place up there.
Charlie's Angels Full Throttle. I remember that.
I didn't see that one.
There's another observatory in LA where I call it the Power Rangers building. It's
that's right. That's
the command center, but it's actually an observatory. Yeah. Other little things that I look and I go, wow. By the way, did you know that building was in Star Trek?
What's the Power Rangers building?
Yeah. Lore.
Wait a minute. Is that the Kittimer?
No, it's Lore's headquarters.
In
the season 6 finale.
Descent part 1.
That is that building. Sorry, we are on a tangent here, but this is because Los Angeles. It's really neat when Star Trek gets to go on site, and it's not just Vasquez Rocks. It's not just mountains. There's topography. There's buildings. There's things. It's like, this is awesome, and I can't think for the life of me when these series did this a lot. Voyager did it. They went on site. Obviously, you can see they went on site. DS9 did not go on site that often. They used backlots. They used Paramount backlots, and Universal backlots. That they would use backlots to film. So when you see them on the streets, original series or otherwise, they're sets.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on location. So it is, again, it's nice, and that's one of the positives I love about this is it's on location. If you're an LA person, you would recognize it. They're walking underneath the Santa Monica Pier.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love little touches, little details like that. Of course,
Under the boardwalk.
Griffith Observatory. It is just a really nice treat to see everybody up and out and in the real world, and seeing the Doctor in the real world. And I also think what's great about this episode is that this, in my opinion, is the turning point for the Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a specific moment when Starling has the Doctor where he says, "You're going to give me Captain Janeway's medical and psychological profile." And the Doctor's like, "No, and you can't convince me. What are you going to do? I'm a hologram. Come on, shut up." And Starling strokes a key and makes the Doctor experience pain. Now, in the first 2 seasons, what is the Doctor's #1 flaw?
He has no empathy.
No empathy, no bedside manner.
Yeah.
I think this changed that. I think that moment where he felt pain, and he says, "I never knew." He knew at that point. And now with the mobile emitter, it makes him, again, more accessible. He's not stuck in sick bay.
Mm-hmm.
So I like this. I think that this was a great turning point for the Doctor,
Mm-hmm.
both as a character and from a writing standpoint, to give him more flexibility.
Mm-hmm. And Delta Quadrant will be at GalaxyCon in San Jose
I know.
in August.
I can't afford to go, and I want to go.
Oh man, well I will.
Bob
make sure
Picardo is
I
one of my favorites.
If I meet the folks, I'll make sure I send you a copy of the pictures. So
You should get him to record. "Hi, this is Bob Picardo, and you're listening to Random Trek."
we're allowed to do that. But we'll see.
People do it all the time. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, what were things you didn't like about this episode, Brennan?
Oh, I mentioned them already. The Arizona
Arizona stuff.
people.
Yeah, it was tacked on.
Yeah.
By the way, did I mention that is my least favorite Trek trope? The shuttlecraft crashed. The shuttlecraft crashed.
Oh,
I hate that trope so bad. Any episode where it's just the shuttlecraft crashed automatically gets a ding for me. I hate them. I hate them so bad. Very few of them turn out really good. But that's just my opinion. Luckily, that's not a major thing here. But they get saved, and it's pretty cool.
At least it's not the one in Enterprise where Flick crashes with the alien princess.
Oh. Yes. Oh, and as an English teacher, I have to complain. Chrono works with an X. Why in the 90s did we put an X on everything?
We did.
Awful. Ugh.
We did indeed in those days. Yes.
It's a little thing. I hate it. It's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, 90s. That's how it was.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, otherwise, I love this. It's a lot of fun. It's enjoyable. You're right. It's a great kind of a summer romp, and it's a 2-parter that you don't have to commit a lot of energy into. And I'm okay with that, but it's a good 2-parter. It fits in the same way that people love Star Trek 4. And I would argue, if you like Star Trek 4, you can watch this episode, and I think you'll be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
No, although there are more. That's the thing.
Like, no whales this time.
No whales. I felt there were more stakes in this episode than in Star Trek 4. I mean, there are stakes, but I feel this is compressing everything and making it happen faster.
That's fair enough, yeah.
All right. Final thoughts on this episode.
This is great. I would not skip this. This is like, I think that Voyager in its first 2 seasons was, I don't know if it really quite hit it. This is where Voyager first really hits.
Yeah.
And it takes off from here. So yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, next week we move on to the animated episodes.
Oh.
Animated episodes. Yes.
We'll start with
And
Right.
here, I want to let our fans know how the rest of this month is going to go. Next week, we will, of course, you will have an episode as normal. The week after that, I think Brennan and I are going to take a little bit of a summer hiatus. I will be off to the birthplace of Captain Kirk, the great state of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we might just take a break that week. But the
I may
following
record some little
record
thing,
something,
yeah.
but no major episodes. But the week after that, we will be into our next summer movie spectacular. We will be taking a look at the Explorers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. But then after that, we recycle and start all over again.
Well, let's not forget the card. Gotta
Oh,
get
that's
the
see,
card
we
in
always
there.
do this. The Picard's the last one. We keep doing this where we forget Picard.
So the card will be the week after the first week of July. Will be
Yes, it'll be first week of July. I always forget Picard. It's no offense to Picard. It's just so new that
Let's
it's
just hope we
still.
get a third season episode.
I would like a good third season episode. Well,
I
we
mean, we
did, if
already
you
did.
remember, we had the finale, which
That's true. That was a
good way
good
to do it.
finale. Oh,
All right. But let's talk about the animated episodes we are going to review.
okay. We start with the
Animated series.
animated series.
All right. We have season 1, episode 12, The Time Trap.
Oh, speaking of time travel,
I have not seen this one.
neither have I.
It involves the Klingons.
Let's see. Hang on. I got the wrong.
The Time Trap.
The wrong show here. Here we go.
Let me take a look here real quick. Yeah. Oh, it's an appearance from Commander Core.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I just took a quick look at what it is.
Okay.
Then
So
for
what
Star
episode is that? Number
that is season 1, episode 12, The Time Trap.
the time trap. Okay.
Then we will be taking at Lower Decks, season 2, episode 4, Mugato Gumato.
Oh no.
It's the Mugato episode. I
Uh,
do remember this one. I didn't know what a Mugato was. It's one of those like reverse things. I went back and watched the original series to learn what a Mugato was. But this has to deal with the Mugatos.
we got to.
The Mugatos.
Yeah,
And then on Prodigy, we have season 1, episode 4, Dreamcatcher.
Oh, okay. Let me just make sure I've got this. Lower Deck season 2. Mugato Gamato. Oh, I finally get it. It's a joke.
Yeah, Mugato Shmugato. Or, it's
Yep.
not.
And then Prodigy. Dreamcatcher. Okay.
Dreamcatcher. This will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. So all animated next week. Brendan, where can the people find you?
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Brennan Mystical. On Instagram at BenThreads at Brennan Blue. Blue Sky and Facebook at Brennan Mar. And of course, you can find our podcast under the name Page Turners They Were Not on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Of course, you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at CIngle1984. But as always, we end every episode. Kapla! And live long and prosper.
Groovy and peace and long life.